Write your own path with opportunities.
Hello, we are with Stephen Schwartz from Schwartz Games, and we are going to hear about a special project that he's doing, and more importantly, how you can be part of that project as well. Stephen, please welcome, and can you introduce yourself?
Well, thank you, Angela. My name is Stephen Schwartz. I've been developing games for way long time, since I was a young child, over 30 years. And what always draws me into a game is the collaboration, the interchange between different players. And even if it's a solo game, it's about learning something new, expanding, experiencing something that you've always wanted to experience, but maybe you can't do it right at that moment, right? So a game really brings that reality to you, just like a book does or a novel, where you're trying to immerse yourself in an environment with the characters. A lot of my games focus on characters, whether it's my Mary Queen of Scots game or other ones. It's all about immersing you into a character, a plot, right, and a background, a setting. And so over the last really 4 years, I've been progressing down a line of how do I bring a story to life and make it easy for people to do that. And I found myself gravitating towards writers and storytellers and avid reader groups over the last 3 years, 4 years, and teachers as well. People who teach writing and work with young children. And so that's what the genesis of what this project is, with the focus of really being a community-driven game. I'm really offering this to the community to help expand everyone's ability to create games that are compelling. I mean, stories that are compelling. And so that's what really drew me in, and I'm really just so excited about getting this out there and getting it in the hands of even more writers and readers and storytellers.
What is the one thing that you wish writers knew when submitting to something like this?
I think it's something that can be approachable by everyone. I think sometimes there's a lot of fear about, like, I don't know that I can do this. How would I start? What's the best style or structure? Now, I think what draws people into that is there's a genre that they love, right? I think you and I, when we first met, I was talking about Matheson's a screenplay about the Pit and the Pendulum, right? Back in
Yeah, that's right.
1961, which that I saw that movie as a young child, and I'm like, oh, that is so captivating, right? The plot with that. And so I think everyone who's a writer has a passion to tell a story, right? There's something in them that they want to bring out, and that's what I really wanted to capture. I wanted to say that every writer and every storyteller, I want to make this game available so they can tell their story in any genre that they have. So it's a very challenging thing for a game creator to create something that can be applied to different genres. And what I didn't see in the market was a lot of prompt-based games, like tell a story about a woman with an axe in a vehicle or something like that, and you have to use an apple or something like that. Now, yeah, that's great to kind of make you think, but it really doesn't provide any structure or any mentoring, or really any mentoring advice on how to create a compelling story, right? How do you, right? So and through my research, working with different writing groups, I found, and storytelling groups, and a member of storytelling guilds, is that they all wanted to have some kind of structure. And while there's a lot of awesome workshops out there that talk about character development, scene development, plot development, and even some more advanced ones that talk about weaving your scenes together, right, so that you can tell a coherent plot. And all of that was wonderful, but it was still so abstract and not real to me. It wasn't, right? So I think what the cool thing that I love about Smalltown Tales is that it really highlights, it provides a very easy structure that helps focus on making fascinating and relatable characters, right, in your story, developing these captivating plots, and then making really vibrant settings that make you feel like you're really there.
Yeah.
It's you're seeing it through the eyes of the character. So each one of these three pillars of characters, plots, and vibrant settings are reflected in the cards themselves, and not with a prompt, but more of an advice, about bring in sensory detail, make the person feel like they're really there. Or if it's about a character, what's their backstory, right? How would you bring that backstory? Or maybe introduce a internal monologue that talks about how the conflicts that they're feeling right now. So everything I shared doesn't tell you what to say. It's just giving you mentoring advice on how to tell a story, right? And so that's very different from what I see out there today. And the results I've gotten so far are they're just so much fun to see people collaboratively create these interesting stories, and then to pick a genre, whether it's horror or fantasy or just a drama or comedy, and then bring that to life with a group of friends, right?
Yeah. That's awesome. It's like workshopping, basically workshopping stories as a game.
Exactly. And I think it also, so what really makes this game interesting, I think, is there's that collaboration that you do between people when you're telling your story, and helps you to create these very meaningful scenes. So on each turn, you're creating a scene where you have your main character, you introduce a plot and a setting, and then you have these planning cards, these plot map cards that help you to weave in these scenes, so that your middle scene may have the fall of the hero, and then in your last scene, you're bringing them out from the ashes, right? And that could be one plot map that you would have that would help you do that.
That's so cool. And can you tell me about your history with Schwartz Games, like how that, obviously you are the Schwartz of Schwartz Games, but how did this come about?
Sure.
This is not your first game.
Okay, so if you go to my site, that is Schwartz, SCHWARTZ, games.com, you'll see a very simple site, but what it shows you is a list of all of the games that I have there that I've created over, more published games that I've created over the last 10, 12 years, maybe more. And they're all about an experience of kind of focusing around a character, right? I've got different periods in history, traveling through Spain, traveling through Europe, games that look at, I'm really fascinated by powerful women in history. I just think that's such a compelling story. So the Mary Queen of Scots game is one of my most favorite. I read the book by John Guy and just fell in love with the whole story of Mary Queen of Scots and her challenges. And so I said, I have to create a game that brings that to life, right? And so, and then I shared with you a game that I started on called Miasma, which is kind of loosely based on the Pit and the Pendulum adaptation. So that I'm all about stories and helping people tell a story, live an experience that, they don't have to travel to Spain to enjoy something about Spain and learn about the culture, and make it something you can do in 30 to 60 minutes with some friends, right? So that's kind of the atmosphere that I really try to create with my games. And they're niche games. Not everyone's going to be really excited about Made Me Marry Queen of Scots, but I wanted to bring that story to life. And so this game, on the other hand, is something that I'm looking for right now are authors that want to participate in episodes where they create that story starter, if you would, right? The ability to set the stage. And then everybody knows a little bit about the characters, they know a little bit about the settings, but now they get to explore that environment and then use the mentoring advice, right, on characters and plots and settings to tell that story the way they want to tell it. Right. And I think that's the exciting part about the game is it's not dictating to you what to say. It's just providing that you're now in that fantasy world, right? If
Yeah.
it's fantasy, or if you're, and it's set within something that I thought was really easy for everyone to relate to, is a small town with different characters, right? So.
Yeah. Fantastic. And also that submission call that Stephen's talking about right now is pasted below in the description. So if you're interested, author Tunis, go down there and find that and submit your idea, because it's a really cool project and it's a really cool idea. And I know that we're constantly writing stories and poems, and I think one of the reasons we do it isn't to get necessarily the little royalty, but to just see our work in a new platform. And this is an amazing new platform for your work. So
yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's the intent behind it. It's really not about me. It's about the community here, and I'm sincere about that. I want to let people experience, like I did when I read my first fantasy novel. I was like, wow, this is really cool. And so it's an opportunity for you to have your love of your genre exposed to classrooms, to different writers, to readers. And yeah, that's what really I find so compelling about the platform. I love how you say that it's an open platform for people to add submissions and say, oh, I really loved playing the horror version of this, or I'd never thought about how the doctor was really a fake ally, of my main character, that kind of thing. So it or turning into mysteries, so I really wanted that kind of flexibility in the game, and keeping that mentoring advice, like, hey, just make the settings, maybe use motion, what's going on in your setting. That can be any genre, right? That can be fantasy, murder mystery. And so keeping the advice relevant to the topic of either a setting, a character, or a plot, but not dictating it, right? And just helping you really tell a really fun and a captivating story. And the collaboration too, which I think I'm sure you want to touch on too, is really, really important too. I found that nobody wants to try to tell the entire story all themselves, right? When you're playing a game. And so this game solicits and allows you at any time, if you've got a certain card, you can embellish somebody else's story. Like you might hear them say something and go, oh, wow, I can't wait to just embellish that with this new twist, right? And so that's the other fun thing about the game, is the structure of it allows for really open integration of ideas, and really elevating things you would never have thought of before in storytelling.
Well, and I think that's great for writers in general, because I don't know that any of us read anything and don't think of how we would have done it. So this is, you can do that. You are going to literally get to put your mark on this interactive story, a community-built story that a group is playing together and creating. So I love this whole idea. Tell me a little bit about you, Stephen, and how you got started with this. Because it's not something, maybe you just woke up one day and said, I'm going to do games, but like how did that start?
You mean like how I got interested in doing games, period?
Yeah, so begin, Stephen.
Okay. Okay, so I'll real quickly say my second cousin was the Merles, Ray Merle, and he is the inventor of Uno. And his son came to visit us. Sissy and Ray came to visit us, and they brought an example of Uno. This is way back. Okay, I'm dating myself. But they said, hey, would you like to invest in this game? Now, I was only a little kid, but my parents said, oh, it's an idea, but they'd never heard of it. Like, who would invest in a game? And so that I played Uno, and I loved it. And I saw that they became hugely successful. It's the most successful card game in the world, Uno is. And I said, I can do this too. And I started to focus on things that fascinated me, like King Henry VIII and how he was executing his wives and all the drama between that. So I created a game about that at around age 10 or 8. I created a card game. It's really easy and fun to play. And
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. So that's how I got started with games, was seeing other people, do them. And then obviously in games that immerse you in outer space or in horror, or I just played with different genre. I was a Dungeon and Dragons kind of person as well at one point. And so all of those games really just immerse you in a story and let you try to act that out. And that's what really makes me passionate about helping people experience and tell a story through games.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And having children too who want to be engaged, they're growing up, they're curious. My son loves to play games, and so I created some games that would help him with grammar and make it fun. The Birds and Words game, and then I love murder mysteries. Every Monday we have a murder mystery Monday in my house. So I created a game called Accusations, where you are all potential, kind of like Clue, but in a more open-ended, a more open way, where you're making accusations. Well, I saw her with the victim in the, that kind of thing, and it's really fun. There's more talking and storytelling going on than Clue, which is very structured and it doesn't let you. You're just kind of imagining. Well, here you're actually talking about people, and you have cards, and that led me to really try to explore, how do I use this format to create this open platform that you so eloquently described.
That's awesome. So I want to apply to be part of your household, because I would love to do Murder Mystery Monday. That sounds like such a fantastic idea. I think everybody needs Murder Mystery Monday in their lives now.
Yes, it's so fun. And I have friends that come over now, and it's kind of like we sit around and we listen to certain series, and we're just laughing. We stop in the middle. We have our dessert, and then we're like, okay, who's going to say who did it, And so it's always that kind of fun thing, right? So there's so many wonderful series out there today that you can do that with. So I encourage everybody who likes mystery genre to have a Murder Mystery Monday in your house. Invite friends and family.
Yeah, there we go. This is probably going to be something I'm going to work on. I might be asking you for more tips on that.
No problem.
And speaking of tips, because you do work with writers and creators so much, what are some of the best practices that you've observed with people like creating story? Well, what is your advice for them?
I think first of all, you have to have a passion. You have to have a story that just keeps you up at night, that you're thinking about it before you go to bed. Like, how's this going to resolve? And I think if you're into writing or creating a story, you know what I'm talking about, right? You've got your daily life, you're living your life, but then there's something about this story that you want to bring to the world. And whether it's, totally fantasy, or it's something that is just historical. So I think that finding your why is probably really important. The second thing I think that I'm just observing by working with writers is that there's so many different ways people approach writing, which is awesome, right? There's that whole creative, and you start to read somebody's novel and you're like, wow, how would I incorporate some of these cool ideas? And so I think the main thing I would say is that you don't have to be afraid to think, well, how am I going to organize this? How do I make my story relatable? Is it really going to be, success? I would throw all of these preconceived notions of what you think success is and just tell the story, right? And I think and that's really where my game comes in, by helping you to outline, if you think about like a really cool stories that are very popular, Star Wars, for example, you can just imagine the different scenes, right? Where Luke Skywalker is with the very first time on Tatooine, where he's looking out and he's cursing about all of his work that he has to do, and then the next scene where he's going out to see his mentor, to find his mentor, right? So each one of those scenes has, a really interesting plot. Their characters are relatable. They're not, they've made them relatable, and the settings are vividly described in your mind, right?
Yeah.
And then you're like, okay, well, where's this going to go? And I think that's where it gets a little challenging for people, are those middle part of your book, right? Or the middle part of your scene. How do I make, you might even know what the end needs to be and you're all excited about getting to the end, but how do I fill that with meaningful, that weaving of scenes between different characters, and how do I bring them in? And what's my secondary scene? And that can get really that can just make your heads blow up, right?
Yeah.
And so I think the game that I created really helps you play with that whole concept in a non-threatening, really mentoring way, where you're working with other people, and it's limited. It's not like the game's going to last for hours. It's usually between 30 to an hour. If you've got a really talkative group, maybe hour 15 minutes. But the idea is everybody's going to tell 6 scenes. Think of it as 6 chapters in a book, and so together, you're going to weave these stories together, and you basically win by starting to share plots from other people. And you use the cards that you have in your hand. You can bank some cards to say, I'm saving this shocking plot twist for the end, and they reveal that he's really not the hero. He's really the anti-hero, that kind of thing. Whatever's in your mind, right? So that, I think, hopefully I answered your question, but I think that's what I would try to tell writers is don't be afraid, and find that why, and then don't worry. I think take a look at the structure that I've suggested of the characters, settings, and plots, and then weaving those together through scenes, and give a go at my game. It's free to play online, and then yeah, so you can play it for free online. Or I think Angela has been gracious enough to talk about adding a dialogue to her site on Substack, where I'd be happy to share example stories with people that people have gone through, and help people use the game in an open way.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons why I am so excited about your game is pretty much what you've just brought up. One of the things that I hear coaching authors is over and over again, I know the beginning, I know how it ends, but I don't know how to get there. And so this is just a fantastic idea to get that structure and play act it out. You are testing it out. You're workshopping it.
Yeah, and the cool thing is, I'm not going to pretend I'm the best writer or the best seer in the world of how to create stories. So I've solicited advice from dozens of people on how to make these cards open, not telling you what to say, but giving you advice. So I definitely can see where we might have a bittersweets example of that in a horror genre, where we may have some different scenes, or maybe different plot maps that, hey, I want my plot to weave 2 different types of main characters together in a way. So I'm starting off really easy. I want this to be approachable by young adults, probably 10 up, who would want to play. And I want it to be simple. You'll see the game has only got 2-3 steps per turn. And it's just simple to play, and you're telling a story, but you've got the support of how to make your characters relatable. You don't have to feel like, hey, I don't know what to say. You're going to get enough advice to at least do that.
That's fantastic. Well, and speaking of workshopping, you've workshopped this game. You had you went to, what is it?
The Texas
or
Break My Games. Yeah. We had a fantastic time earlier this month. We had I've live tested this with different people from all backgrounds. You'll see some of the examples on the website. I have to share this. I had this one guy who just loves onions on hamburgers, and he weaved that into the story so wonderfully, of how it just made you feel like you could smell the onions, when you
awesome.
That kind of thing. So I'm always learning from this, and I got some really great advice to add for future cards or small tweaks. So it's it's really, I love this community-driven approach, and then keeping it open to different genres.
Yeah, I do too. I think it's awesome, and I am so excited to see where this is going. What can we, as authors, as the author community, do to support you in this?
I would, I understand being an author is not a wealthy start, right? You're
What?
bootstrapping this
I
on
thought it was.
yourself.
I quit then. I've been deluding myself.
And I can tell you, being an independent game designer, it's not a wealthy start either. It's not about
Yeah.
money, and so every author has to think about where do they want to spend their time, right?
Mhm.
And I would think that if you really like uh, collaborating with other people, your family, if you really want to make your stories meaningful, have meaningful scenes with characters and plots and settings, and to experience different ways of weaving scenes together, you're going to love this game. It's just really going to help you do that. And just to share it with your
Mhm.
children or your friends, or if you're a teacher, a classroom. I've got a classroom version that you can play where each student creates a scene and they work together to create a 3-scene story, right? A
Oh,
beginning, a
nice.
middle, and an end. And they get to tell that. And I'm really excited. I've kind of play tested it, but I'm going to take it to a classroom this next year, school year, and have these students play it. So I'm just really excited to, bring that structure. That's, like, what is expository writing? Everybody knows what that is, right?
Mhm.
This is a similar framework. It's really a framework, a platform and a framework to help you create scenes, weave them together, and then collaborate with other people to learn more about, oh, I never would have thought of adding that to my story. Thank you
Yeah.
for adding the onions to the diner.
And now we all want hamburgers.
Yeah. Or at least
What's
onion
coming?
burgers, right?
Yeah, hamburgers with plenty of onions, or yeah, just the onion burger itself
Yeah,
with
there you
onion.
go.
What is coming up next then? Because I know you are getting ready to release this, and I think you have a Kickstarter you said coming up.
Mhm.
What's in the future for this?
Yes, so thank you. So future right now, I'm accepting ideas for people to submit their own episodes. I know you're going to be writing one. I have a couple other really cool authors that said, hey, I'd like to do this. I want more. I'd love to help open this up even more to different genres.
Hmm.
And don't, if you feel like, oh, I'm intimidated by doing that, I will walk you through that process. It's not hard and it's fun. You're just gonna, how you get you're gonna get something in your brain. You're gonna go, oh wow, I can't wait to tell this. And
Yeah.
if you're an author, it may be something you've already published, and you want to introduce that to people. So
Yeah.
your
Great
name, your
promotional
website,
opportunity.
absolutely, your website, your web presence will be included in that, and people go, I love playing this game. Who's that author again? Oh, I want to buy their book. So
Hmm.
that's the intent behind this. It's not about really me being the star here. It's about authors being the star. Um,
Yeah.
the next thing is in September the 6th. I'm sorry, September the 6th. I'm opening up to crowd sale, which
Okay.
means that if I get 20 people, 30 people, the price goes way down. So my target is to make this game available for less than $20 for sure. If in mass it'll be under 15, and I'm using a well-known uh, self-publishing company, the Game Crafter.
Hmm.
Um, and the Game Crafter and Smalltown Tales, you'll be able to go there. I decided, because so many people wanted to play the game before that, they played the game online, and they said, I want to get a game. And ahead of the crowd sale, I haven't published it, but you can purchase it in advance of the crowd sale. You'll pay a little bit more than the
Hmm.
crowd sale. So if you can wait, do the crowd sale. But if you really can't wait and you want to try this out right away, you can purchase it through the Game Crafter, or go to my site or the links below, and they'll show you how to get that game. And I did a really nice write up on the game. You can download the rules and see some episodes of different genres. You can have fun, playing the game online first before you buy. So
That
that's
is super exciting. And depending on when I get to do my trip back to the States, put me down for three orders. I will
oh,
definitely buy
okay,
3 of those,
all
because
right,
as we've talked before the show and at other times, we are a
uh-huh,
family of gamers over here. We always want new
yeah,
games, and this is a
yeah.
really cool one.
Well, thank you. So
Well,
that's the next
awesome.
big thing.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming here and sharing all this with us. The links are in the description below. Would you like to just tell us a little bit about, like, because you talked about the crowd sharing,
Mm-hmm.
the crowd sharing, things like that. Those links are in the below. And where else can we find you?
The schwartzgames.com is my main website. There's a when you go to the link that takes you to the Game Crafter, right at the beginning, it's going to say, hey, do you want to provide feedback? Do you want to ask any questions? You can do that through a Google's form. Ask any questions if you played the game online. So I really want this to be a community-driven thing. And I think, Angela, you and I are going to work together perhaps on some work, maybe a mini workshop or something like that, where I'd love to show people how the game's played. And then if people are more into online gaming, we can actually play the game online and create a dynamic story, maybe a bittersweet story on one of the publications that you've done through horror. So
yeah, I count me in. I definitely want to do this. We need to set our time, and we will definitely do this. So, well, awesome. Thank you so much for being here. And everybody, go to the descriptions below, go to the links below, and let's see this game. And when this is all released, we definitely have to do this again. Like, we need to have many, many more of these quick chats.
Yes, and I'd love to bring in maybe some of the authors that have helped with the episodes.
Yeah.
And we can talk about, the expansions of the game that we're considering to help different genres or make this framework, again, really easy and fun and approachable.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Author Tunas, go below. If you're catching this on the replay, then all those links are right there. If you're listening to us through Spotify or any of the other platforms that we stream to, go find these links and become part of this community with Smalltown Tales. And Stephen Schwartz, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Angela. Bye now.
Bye-bye.